Welcome back to StabtheDragon Productions for episode number 132, movie review number 5, as tonight we examine Lone Survivor. In the previous movies that I've reviewed, not that many, I've focused on classic movies from yesteryear. We like old movies from the 30s and 40s and 50s. But today I'm looking at a modern, popular movie from 2013, just 10 years ago. And that's significant change for me. I just don't do many modern movies for some reason. I mean, I'd like to, I just don't make time for it. But with this change, I'm deliberately reaching out to the military community in an effort to honor their sacrifices, encourage those who serve today, and point Americans towards our history, towards patriotism, a renewed level of preparedness. We live in a fallen world where there's always going to be wars and rumors of wars. So we need to be prepared. In fact, just this week, the first week of October 2023, is the 30th anniversary of the Battle of Mogadishu. As written about here in Black Hawk Down by Mark Bowden. 30 years ago, that battle, this week. So in honor of those soldiers and the special operators of that period, tonight I am drinking Hooten Young American whiskey. I don't know if you can read that or not. Hooten Young American whiskey, aged 12 years. Norm Hooten, who is featured in the film Black Hawk Down, was a special operator in Delta Force in the Army. He retired as a master sergeant, and he started a whiskey company. So there you go. So in honor of the Battle of Mogadishu, all the soldiers who fought in that, and to Master Sergeant Norm Hooten, cheers. Now this movie that we're looking at, Lone Survivor, is directed by Peter Berg of Friday Night Lights, 2004, The Kingdom, 2007, Battleship, 2012. And it's based on the 2007 book, Lone Survivor, written by Marcus Luttrell and Patrick Robinson. The screenplay of the movie is by Luttrell, Berg, and Robinson. It's produced by Universal and Film 44, starring Mark Wahlberg of The Shooter, 2007, as Marcus Luttrell, Taylor Kitsch as Lieutenant Murphy, Ben Foster as Axelson, Emil Hirsch as Danny Dietz, Ali Suleiman as Gulab, and Yusuf Azami as Shah, and Eric Bana as Lieutenant Commander Christensen. The movie is 2 hours and 2 minutes, but the extra stuff at the end, the extra features, is very valuable. I think that's close to another hour. This movie had a $40 million budget, and it grossed $155 million. It was nominated for 2 Academy Awards, but didn't win. It did win several other awards, however. The plot. This movie is, of course, based on a true story and does stick pretty much to the truth. A little bit of it is Hollywooded up here and there. It follows SEAL Team 10 on a mission called Operation Red Wings in Kunar Province, Afghanistan, 2005. The operation was for this 4-man SEAL team led by Lieutenant Murphy to gain intelligence or kill or capture a local Taliban leader known as Shah. The team inadvertently makes contact with some shepherds, and then they have a debate on the ethics of war. Do they kill the shepherds, tie them up, which would kill them more slowly, or let them go, thus compromising the mission? Lieutenant Murphy decides to let them go, and they promptly get the Taliban after them. The SEALs end their mission and try to reach high ground to contact headquarters for an extraction because they're having communication difficulties from their location of observing the village. So they've missed a couple of comm check-ins. But the comms fail. The Taliban force catches up to them on the mountain. In the ensuing firefight, the SEALs die one by one until Luttrell is left alone and wounded. The QRF, Quick Reaction Force, finally responds during the firefight, but one of the CH-47 Chinook helicopters is shot down, sealing the fate of the SEALs. Luttrell escapes, but is found by a local Pashtun villager, Gulab, who practices Pashtunwali, an honor code of providing assistance to those who are in need. No friend of the Taliban, Gulab resists them when they enter his village, searching for the wounded SEAL. A message is conveyed from Gulab to the nearest American base, and a relief force does come just in the nick of time, as the Taliban is about to overrun the villagers and capture Luttrell. Luttrell, taken back, hospitalized, but the movie says that he dies on the table, but they bring him back. I think that's part that was, if I understood it right, that was the part that was kind of Hollywooded up a little bit, along with some other action scenes. The additional features on this Blu-ray disc are excellent and talk about how the movie was made, talks about the lives of the fallen SEALs, talks about the Pashtun code. I would go so far as to say that if you're going to watch this movie, you really do need to schedule that extra hour that it will take to watch the additional features. It will seriously help you understand the SEALs, what these guys really went through, but also it will tell you what went into the making of this movie, because these guys were put through some serious training by special operators. All right, the military cooperated greatly with the making of this movie. And Berg, the director, his father was a Marine, so he's got this in him as well. And so the commitment level of this film crew and what they did to do the film right, that was impressive. And when you understand that aspect of the artistry behind a film, I think that makes it come alive even better, because the film production team was all about honoring these servicemen for their sacrifices, and that comes through. So they did their best here. Absolutely. Too many times we just watch a movie for some entertainment, some escapism, but this movie, along with the special features at the end, and there's interviews with the family of the deceased. I mean, this is a heart-wrenching special feature, right? You need to watch this. And all this provides us with a significant emotional as well as educational experience to link us to the true story of Marcus Luttrell. The movie does a great job of portraying the lives of these young SEALs in the brief time allotted in the film. Some of the criticism of the film is that characterization was a little bit weak. Well, you don't have a whole lot of time in a 2-hour movie. But I think they did a great job. Man, there's one gut-wrenching scene towards the end of the firefight where one of the SEALs pulls something out of his pocket. And it was something that we saw earlier as he's talking about his wife and the remodeling of the house and things. And he pulls that out as he's dying. That is a gut-wrenching scene. And so, man, look for that when you watch the movie. But, they do some things like talk about wedding preparations, remodeling of the house. There's emails back home. There's pictures of the families. There's things about the friendships there amongst the SEALs. So I think the movie does a credible job of making each of the men an individual with a family and a background. It shows they're real people. They're vulnerable. They've got a lot online. It really does put the sacrifice in perspective. In fact, one of the SEALs tells his wife he has to go to work for a few days, so he's going to be out of communication, so that he's got to pay the bills. Yeah, he pays the bill all right. And America is forever in his debt. Well, more than the backgrounds, this movie shows the love for the men, uh, the the man beside them in combat, right? How they are fighting for each other. It shows their dedication to each other as well as the mission, their sheer toughness, the courage, and it shows us in a way that Americans can be proud of their warriors. Some of the reviews that I read call this jingoism. That's just commie talk. I think it's honor. This film shows the honor of these men. It shows the professional military at their finest. This movie does for SEALs, I think, what Top Gun maybe does for pilots in the Navy. Uh, I think you can say the story could be called a paean in the same vein as the Iliad. These are America's finest warriors doing what Americans have asked as a result of 9/11. The Iliad tells the story of the Greeks who fought their war and sacrificed their lives for glory, for honor, so that people thousands of years later would still sing their song, still tell their story, still remember their names. Lone Survivor is an American Iliad. Art has several purposes, ranging from simply portraying the artist's feelings at the moment to examining and promoting the values and philosophies of the society that produces the art. The commie reviewers, they'll say, "Oh, this movie's jingoistic. You know, it's just patriotism on the sleeve, and it's all hoo-ha nonsense." That's how they look at it. The movie is communicating values. The movie is communicating a philosophy. It is communicating an aspect of patriotism, but it's doing it, I think, in a very realistic and honorable way. So much of modern art and so many modern movies are pointless, empty, and vulgar. This movie is a high form of art, as it tells the stories of men who are separated from their families, far from home, going through the agony of war and personal combat for a cause that at the time was still very real, avenging the 9/11 attacks on America. Now, watching this movie now, in 2023, after the disgraceful Biden retreat and defeat of America in Afghanistan in 2021, that stirs up difficult feelings because you're watching this sacrifice in light of what ultimately was going to happen. And that makes it even harder. I see the heroism, the sacrifice, this high degree of professionalism wasted by bad military and political leadership over the 16 intervening years from that battle to the last airplane leaving Afghanistan with thousands of scared, mourning Afghans left behind in the face of the Taliban, sold out by their own Afghan leadership and the tragic nature of their tribal culture, ancient religion as well as by the Americans. I'm old enough to remember watching this same sort of tragedy at the end of the Vietnamese War in 1975 as the last helicopter took off from the Saigon embassy and the hands of people were grasping for the skids and the last hope at freedom. Despite how that war ended, however, despite how this Afghan war ended, the sacrifices of Murphy, Axe, Dietz, and Luttrell are not totally in vain. Heroic acts are not to be judged finally by the political end years later that the politicians have brought us. They're judged by the merits of the specific situation and the lives, actions, and ends of those directly involved at the time. Their actions on that day, on that mission, are deserving of those medals that they are awarded and of this book and of this movie. They rightfully belong in the Hall of Fame of great American warriors that stretches back through over 400 years of history of this great land and the many warriors who fought in the great battles or the small battles, who defended their lonely homestead on the frontier all alone with nobody to write and sing their song. My evaluation, how do I rate this movie? The technical excellence, I think, is very high. The only real gaffe that I saw was the SEALs were carrying Beretta 9mm pistols. And I don't think SEALs carried that. I think they carried some kind of a 45 ACP. Wahlberg was great in this role, but perhaps a bit old for the part. And that's really kind of normal in military movies. It's like Tom Hanks in Saving Private Ryan. He was really too old for that part. Uh, the movie, though, worked for me. Absolutely. This is a top tier war movie that rates up there with Saving Private Ryan or Mel Gibson's We Were Soldiers, Black Hawk Down. This movie absolutely gets the military community. It gets the story right. This is a 10 out of 10. It sets the standard. Now, how can our present day American soldiers profit from this story? These SEALs fought courageously to accomplish the mission they were handed, for which they had volunteered. Facing overwhelming odds, they didn't quit. They gave their all. Now, not all of us can be SEALs or Rangers, Green Berets, or pilots, but we each sign up for the mission. We take an oath that can and will lead us into harm's way. Will I honor my oath? Will I pursue the mission? Number 2, once things start heading south, once they're wounded, bleeding, and knowing the odds are against them, they fought for each other and their honor. Their honor was not exclusively bound to the mission. It was shared with the men to their left and the right, defending each other, fighting for each other, carrying each other when wounded. In the final analysis, that's why men fight to the death in war, for the guy next to them. Their love for each other required sacrifice. Are we in it just for the pay and benefits? That'll never carry you through the weight of combat. Will I love the men I stand beside to the uttermost? Or will I dishonor them and quit when the going gets tough? Third, the movie portrays some of the training and discipline these men went through in the SEALs. The special features at the end show some more of this as well. Have I taken advantage of the opportunities to train to my utmost? Do I take seriously the likelihood that I'll have to use my training to defend myself, my brothers, and carry out the mission? Or have I been lazy and undisciplined? You fight how you've trained. Right now, today, there are warriors for the other side who are committed to killing you. Am I ready to face them? Am I confident in my ability to perform in combat? Do I have confidence in the men and women to my right and left? Do they have confidence in me? When the SEALs were faced with deciding what to do with the goat herds, what would you have done and why? What objective standards apply to combat situations? Did that particular mission take priority over treating their enemies justly? What separates us from the enemy? Are our culture and values superior? Why or why not? But what about Gulab and the Pashtun Code? That was a huge part of the story. Fifth, what was the toughest part of the movie for you? For me, I think it was when the relief force encountered the problems that they encountered and the team knew that no help was coming. What is your biggest takeaway from the movie? What's your final evaluation of the story and how it was told? Well, that's all for this time of Stab the Dragon. Out here.